Now, speaking of Jewish refugees coming to Israel, among the new Olim is a surprising number of Russian oligarchs. And this ostensibly not because they feel any affinity for Israel, nor because they're fleeing war, but rather because they're fleeing the increasing Western sanctions. Joining me to discuss is economic consumer behavior expert and assistant professor Vili Abraham. Vili, thanks for being with us. Now, how big of an effect are the sanctions having on people with this level of wealth? Or is moving to Israel really saving them that much?
Well, as we all know, their assets have been frozen or confiscated all over the world, in the States and in the European Union. They're trying to come here in order to try to save whatever there is to save. But we don't really have good news for them because we have anti-money laundering laws, which will not allow them to bring the money that they have. And also, although there is no official decision on the part of the government, the banks in Israel do understand that they have to comply with at least the United States, otherwise they will be punished. So if you look at one of the large banks in Israel, Bank Hapoalim, they have a message on their website that says people who are bringing in money from Ukraine or Russia or want to send money to Ukraine or Russia, their requests may not be executed. So they're not taking a clear stance, but they are, passing the message that you shouldn't be sending money because there's a very good chance that it will not be sent.
So, could you go a little bit deeper into the anti-money laundering laws, because that's I think a great concern, is that Israel is going to be effectively used to launder Russian assets.
Exactly. Well, the thing is that today, when you want to send money abroad, or when somebody even sends you $2,000 from abroad, you'll be getting a call from your bank asking you who sent you the money. Will you be getting more money? And they might not even be willing to execute the request to have money sent. So they will be facing a lot of obstacles as far as trying to bring money. However, if they do manage to bring in money somehow, whether it's on somebody else's name or through third parties, it's going to be very limited. And they're probably looking into, the flourishing real estate industry in Israel. They can make a lot of money there. There are a lot of investment opportunities in Israel, which they may want to be taking. However, I don't think they really want to stay here in the long run. I mean, if the war ends and they could go back to their country and rescue their fortune, they'll probably go back. That's what I see as far as the near future is concerned.
All right, now the West is increasingly calling on Israel to join in the sanctions campaign. Would that have a larger effect than it already is on oligarchs' holdings in Israel or in general? And I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, well, banks have frozen accounts of Russians in Israel, people who are involved or have some connection to the regime in Russia. If there are clear requests on the part of the U.S., to the Israeli government or to the banks, I think this will have a stronger effect, because banks are, on the one hand, they're saying, well, we may not execute. So when will they execute? It really is something that is based on their discretion. So we really need to have the United States make a firm stand from the Israeli government, requesting that it doesn't allow oligarchs to transfer money to the country.
All right, now there's one oligarch in particular who is capturing most of the attention right now from the West. That's Roman Abramovich. And again, many local and international organizations, from Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial to the Chelsea Soccer Club, which he runs, are suspending ties with him. Will that really take, will it really take every individual and private organization joining in to have an effect? To what degree are those types of sanctions hurting?
Well, all the people who have benefited from being friends with the Russian regime, with Putin in particular, the greatest punishment is to lose their fortune that they have accumulated. We're talking about billions of dollars. So the more organizations, the more countries that go and take the stance that says, well, we're going to confiscate your money, we're going to freeze your assets, is going to hurt more and more oligarchs because, they have their money, which is spread all over the world. So the more countries that come into the picture and say, we're going to freeze your assets, it's going to be more painful. And I think that the major problem for Israel is when you have oligarchs that have Israeli citizenship. So you can't prevent them from coming here, but I think you do have to prevent their money from being transferred here. And by the way, again, if you look at the Israeli official stance, it's really ambiguous because about 14 oligarchs flew in the last 10 years into Israel. So nobody said, we're going to confiscate your private jets, but the rule is now, or the directive is that they cannot be parked in Ben Gurion airport for more than 48 hours. So it's saying, well, you can come, but you can't stay here. So you have to leave within 48 hours. So don't think about, basing yourself here in the country. So it's really an ambiguous message that the government is communicating.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for joining us again.
It was a pleasure.